you've never been more nervous?
Never been more terrified. It's a piece of history that people don't really know about.
It is about the Southwest with an entirely Southwest team and cast. All of those things coalesce into the first big project of my tenure here.
About 20 years ago, a group of very extraordinary people in Poundstock, which is one of the villages where my dad was a vicar, set about the business of renovating their Gildhouse, which is a church house which is attached to the church. And you can see that's what it looks like. When I was considering that, I was like, well, what do I write about? And there was this booklet, you know, lots of churches have booklets, don't they? Where they kind of have little snippets of church history. And there was quite a number of quite sweet things in there, like, and interesting things like, you know, piracy and priests being murdered at the altar. I kid you not, I kill you not. But then there was also this story about the Gildhouses and the parish's relationship to the Western Rising and what we now know as the Prayer Book Rebellion. And how Simon Morton, who was the priest there at the time, was one of the rebellion leaders. And that's an extraordinarily interesting thing to me, because this is the very time when these places are being shut. So these people have fundraised and got together the money for what would have been a relatively high status building in this period. And you know, that the prevailing forces, political forces, are shutting them down. And yet it remains one of the only buildings of its type in the country that has been in continuous community use.
As part of the completely joyful and ongoing process of prepping for this production, I've spent time at the Gildhouse, met some of the people you're talking about. We had a reading, a community reading of the play with lots of members of the community, and it was just the most beautiful moment, wasn't it? I mean, that must have meant a huge amount to you. These are people you've a massive part of your life, and were telling their story, or their history, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the most terrifying moment in my career.
And you've worked in, I mean, this is name drop, but you've worked in the biggest theatres in the land.
I have.
And you've never been more nervous.
Never been more terrified. And I think that's because it's meant so much.
Yeah.
Because the long-winded story that I was going on was that they asked for this play to be written 20 years ago. I just thought, oh gosh, that's extraordinary. And for me, that built in my head around a metaphor really for resilience and community resilience, and the way that despite the many changes that Cornwall, Devon, the world has been through, our ability to find our way back to one another. Why did you want to do this play, Martin?
Why did I want to do this play? There's a lot of reasons. It feels like super relevant to now, doesn't it? We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah. You
talk about theatre land when we're choosing plays and things to make. We get, why now? Why this play? Why now? There are so many. I feel there are so many answers to that question in this play. I feel like this is a fantastic opportunity for the Northcott to put on a really proper drama with character and text at its heart. So there's that, but to also be able to put together a piece of work that is about the Southwest with an entirely Southwest team and cast and a community ensemble and a choir, all of those things coalesce into the first big project of my tenure here and the new leadership team here. That is a big statement of intent, which is thrilling, really.
What's really interesting is I think when you work on a project for 20 years, one way or another, then you get this serendipitous moment that something lands at the right time, like the story, and that helps to shape it.
Yeah.
Every piece of historical drama is actually a meeting of that story with the current story, and that always happens. And it is the 475th year this year of the anniversary, and it's also an election year.
Yeah.
We've got a brand new government in place. This is a play about a brand new government. There's also going to be elections of the free world as we're writing this. And also we're at a time where this cultural change where protest is always around the edges, and a time when, although we do have the representative democracy that these people could only have dreamt of, we don't feel like it.
And from the Northcott's point of view, it's it really feels so important to us to get back to producing more of our own work with shows that are made here. And one of the reasons for that is it gives opportunity to select the stories that you want to tell for now. And sometimes, as you've said, that's something that's about a time 475 years ago, but that speaks so loud and clearly about authority and power and togetherness and what you do when the things that really matter to you are threatened.
And it's a piece of history that people don't really know about, right?
Yeah, it's that classic thing.
It's that classic thing.
Told by the victors.
Exactly, and and yet it has shaped so much of the perception that we have, both of Cornwall. It is probably the moment that the Cornish language is finally put to bed by the victors, for all sorts of reasons, because of what happened afterwards. It's also, it's one of the Tudor rebellions that's taught on some A-level history syllabuses, and yet we don't know about it. Like as a woman, I'm aware that I don't always know what my history is actually, because I don't see an ordinary woman like me on stage enough in this period. I know what I'm like if I'm a queen, but and I'm not saying that work isn't there, but it just, you can get more of it, right? Like so when you create these new story hordes, really, and you centre people and you make them like community experiences, we do this kind of extraordinary recalibration of our sense of our identity. These people do not think of themselves as rebels. That is the result.
And actually,
they are protesters.
Yeah, exactly. We've been trying to train ourselves to use the word protest, haven't we? Rebellion automatically suggests naughty and wrong, and they're on the wrong side. It's not that. It's a protest. And my goodness me, that's a word in the news a lot at the moment as well, isn't it?
And it's that reclamation of language.
Yeah.
And that's stealing back a story. Because the thing is that if we don't know who we are, we don't know why we are. Like, we're going to come together to tell this story, and we're going to let these people inside these city gates, and we're going to hear what they have to say, and we're going to understand ourselves and why we are a little bit differently, and that's super thrilling.
Yeah. So get your tickets now.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. We're super proud already, and there's a lot of work to do. So do come and see the show, support this incredible story by this incredible writer, Sarah Dickenson, made in this incredible theatre.
Yeah, hopefully it'll make you laugh and cry, and I really hope it'll make you think. So please come.
Yeah.
Bye.